Hello and welcome to Algebra 1, Factoring Polynomials with 4 Terms. So let's get into it. So when it comes to factoring, we started in a previous video with how to recognize and factor out any GCFs, and that's where we were basically pulling out a monomial that was inside each of our terms. But when we're working with 4-term polynomials, we're going to use a process called grouping. But before we can get to grouping, we need to be able to recognize a different kind of GCF. And so with this first expression, notice that 2x is being multiplied by x minus 7, and negative 3 is also being multiplied by this x minus 7. So instead of us pulling out a monomial, we're pulling out that entire expression. And so when we go to write it in factored form, we're going to put these in a set of parentheses on their own. So we have 2x minus 3, and then that is being multiplied by that x minus 7. And when we think back to how we were FOILing and multiplying our binomials, we know that that's 2x times that x and that negative 7. So you still have that 2x being multiplied by this. That's that first part of the expression. And then we have this negative 3 being multiplied by that expression as well. So this is another way of writing it. And so now let's look at this other one. So when we're looking at this other one, we can see that they're both being multiplied by that same expression. And so b squared minus 1 is going to be in a set of parentheses, and then this negative 4b, and then remember there's a plus here, but there's that imaginary 1 comes back up. So we have negative 4b plus 1, and then we're going to have that b squared minus 1 there. And so don't forget that you have those invisible coefficients outside, or those invisible numbers outside of your parentheses as well. So don't forget that piece. It's not plus 0, it's plus 1. All right, so let's get into grouping. So we've already looked at how we can kind of recognize the GCF, and so let's figure out how we would do that. So you're going to put it in order, and usually it comes in order for you already, especially in Algebra 1, and then we're going to split this in half. And then let's go ahead and find the GCF of both sides. So on this side, I can see that there's no number that goes into both, but a G that goes into both. And then that G is going to go out to the side, and then we divide. So F, there's nothing happening with the F, it's just going to be brought down, and then a g to the first power and a g to the first power. 1 minus 1 is 0, so g eliminates itself. And then we've got negative 5 divided by 1, right, if we put 1s here. And then those g's are going to cancel out again for this one. So now we have something that looks like this. And now let's go on to the other side. So on the other side, we're going to look for a number that's going into both. The highest number that goes into both is a 4. And then there's no variables that show up in both. So now we've got a positive 4 divided by 4 gives us 1f. And then negative 4 divided by 4 gives me negative 5. And then from here we can see that we have those two expressions in both. And so now we can write g plus 4 and then f minus 5. And that's all there is to it. So now let's do another one. So with this one, let's go ahead and split it down the middle. And then from here, let's look for our GCF in the first half. And so we know that 3 is going to be the highest number that goes into both of these. And then they both have an x, and the lowest exponent on the x is a 1. So you can put your 1s there to help remind you. And then from here, Our 3x is going to go out to the side. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. And then negative 3 divided by 3 is going to be negative 1. And then the x's are going to cancel. 1 minus 1 is 0. And then we still have that y on there. And then from here, let's find our GCF of the other side. So I know 2 is the highest number that's going to go into both of those. And I don't have a variable that goes into both. And so now this positive 2 is going to come down here, and then we're going to divide. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. We didn't do anything with the x, so we're going to keep it. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, and then that y is still going to be there. And then notice we have our two factors, so we have that GCF in common. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit when we go to rewrite this. So I have 3x plus 2, and then I'm going to put 3x minus y. You don't have to put the 1 in front of the y. You can just leave it as minus y. So this is going to be our last one, and this one looks kind of weird, right? Because we can see that there's a decimal here. If they give us a decimal, we're going to treat it the exact same way, and so let's split it down the middle, and let's find the GCF of the left side. I know that 3 is going to be the biggest number that goes into the left. And then I have an x in both, and then 1 is my smallest exponent that I see on the x's. So from here, I have 3x, and then I'm going to divide. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then 2 minus that 1 gives me an x to the power of 1. And then 24, positive 24 divided by positive 3 gives me positive 8. And those x's are going to cancel out, and so I'm just left with this. All right, on the other side, notice that my first number here on the right side is negative, and that makes our GCF also negative. And then we know that 1.5 goes into 12, and so we're going to treat that as our GCF, because I don't want to further complicate this by trying to find a number that goes evenly into 1.5. It's not going to work, okay? And so for this, I'm just going to use the number itself. And I know that 1.5 also goes into 12. And so now from here, that negative 1.5 goes on the outside. When I divide, I get negative 1.5 divided by negative 1.5, and that's just going to give me 1, and then I still have that x on there. And then negative 12 divided by negative 1.5 also gives me a positive 8. And now from here, I have my two factors. And so this is going to be 3x minus 1.5, and then x plus 8. And that's it for this video.